After a painful relationship ends, the hardest part isn't necessarily the heartbreak itself. It's when you stop trusting yourself, your sense of who you are, your inner voice, the part of you that is supposed to know what is right for you. And when that gets shaken, everything feels uncertain. You second guess yourself. You don't know what to believe anymore, including yourself. Today, we are going to talk about that, about how to find your way back to yourself and learning to trust yourself again. Part 1, the doubt is specific. First, I want to name something clearly because I think it gets misunderstood. When you have been betrayed, when you have been in a relationship with someone who didn't treat you the way you deserved, the self-doubt that follows is very specific. What it does is go straight to your sense of self, your self-trust. And when that's shaken, everything else starts to wobble too. You'll question your worth. Was I not enough? You question your attractiveness. You question your choices. How did I not see this coming? Was I naive? Was I foolish? You even start to doubt your ability to heal. Will I ever feel like myself again? And yes, it also affects how you see yourself in love, your ability to choose wisely, to trust your instincts with men, and to believe you won't just repeat the same pain. But that piece, I'll go deeper in my next video because that deserves its own conversation. And here's something that doesn't get talked about enough. Betrayal doesn't just hurt you emotionally. The stress of it gets into your body too. Your sleep suffers, your energy suffers, and we all know that when we are not sleeping well, our thinking gets cloudy. We second guess ourselves more. Everything feels harder to navigate. So it's almost a double whammy. Your sense of self has taken a hit and your body has too. And from that place, it's very difficult to think clearly. Of course, the self-doubt feels loud too. This is not weakness. This is what happens when you have been through something genuinely hard. But that doubt doesn't mean your judgment is broken. It means you got hurt and your whole system, body and mind, are trying to process that. That's actually very human thing to do. The problem is when we let that protective doubt run the show for too long. Part 2, my friend's story. I have a friend, let's call her Sophia. And Sophia was married for several years to a man who, looking back, showed many traits of a narcissistic personality. During the relationship, she gave everything. She tried harder and harder to make it work, blamed herself when it didn't, and slowly lost herself in it. When she finally got out of the marriage, she thought that she would feel free. What surprised her, she felt completely shattered, even though she had been planning to break up the marriage for many years. When I spoke to her recently, she said something that really stayed with me. She said, "Eija, I don't even recognize myself anymore. I used to know who I was, but now I second guess everything. I look back and I think, how did I not see what was happening? What does it say about me that I stayed so long?" What she described is not a character flaw. It is a natural result of being in a relationship that slowly, quietly eroded her sense of self. One where her instincts were dismissed, where she kept adapting, shrinking, and trying until she lost the thread back to herself. That is what those kind of relationships do. They don't just hurt you, they make you doubt the very thing you need most to heal, your inner voice. The work that needs to happen isn't about becoming harder or more suspicious. The real work is internal. It is the work of coming home to yourself. Part 3, self-forgiveness. Before trying anything, before healing, before any of it, there's one thing I believe is the foundation, and that is self-forgiveness. I know it might sound foreign to you, but listen up, because here's what I see so often. Women who have been in a pain, unsupportive relationships carry around this invisible weight of shame. How did I stay so long? How did I not see it? What does it say about me that I loved someone like that? Sophia carried this. Maybe you do too. And I want to offer you a different frame. You didn't stay because you were foolish. You stayed because you loved, because you had hoped, because you were trying, because you believed in the person he initially led you to believe he was. That is not a character flaw. It is a capacity to love deeply. And that's something the world actually needs more, not less. You were in a relationship that was not supportive of you, and that is what happened. That is not a reflection on your worth. It is not evidence that you are broken or cursed or doomed to repeat it. So the first step is this: forgive yourself. And I want to be specific about what that means, because it's not always that you didn't know. Sometimes you definitely had a sense that something was wrong, but leaving something familiar is hard, even when it's not good for you, because change always takes energy. And when you have been in an unsupportive or even abusive relationship, energy is exactly what you don't have. So you stayed and you tried harder, and that makes complete sense. And you made the best decision you could with the emotional tools and the energy you had at the time. And now you're here. Now you can do differently. That is not failure. That is growth. So let's go to the exercise, the forgiveness letter. I want to give you something practical here. Take 10 to 15 minutes, maybe tonight, maybe this weekend, and write yourself a letter. Write to yourself in a way that you would write to your best friend if she had been through what you have been through. What would you say to her? You wouldn't tell her she was stupid or blame her, but you would say, I see you. I see how hard you tried. I see how much you loved. And I'm proud of you for getting through this. Write that letter to yourself. That is not a small thing. It's where the healing actually can begin. And that one letter might just be the start. Come back to it. Use it as an ongoing journaling prompt, because self-forgiveness is not a one-time event. It's something you return to again and again as the layers surface. Part 4, self-acceptance and coming home to yourself. When Sophia talked about no longer recognizing herself, the thing that stuck the most wasn't the pain in it, it was the longing. She wanted to find her way back to her own instincts and the sense of what is right for her. And I think that is what heart of what we are talking about today. Not just healing from someone else, but coming home to yourself. Self-acceptance is how that happens. Not the Instagram version of self-love, not the bubble baths and affirmations, although those can be nice. I mean deeper work. The work that's sitting with yourself and asking, who am I really? What do I feel underneath the noise? What do I actually need? What are my values? Because here's what happens when we do the work. We stop abandoning ourselves. We stop overriding the instincts to keep the peace. We stop shrinking. And when we stop abandoning ourselves, we start to trust ourselves again, slowly, gently, and over time. That is the rebuilding. Not a dramatic moment or a single breakthrough, just a steady returning to who you are. Part 5, time is not the enemy. I want to say something that I don't think gets said enough. We live in the culture where it's very uncomfortable with women taking time for themselves after a relationship ends. There is the pressure, sometimes from friends, sometimes from family, sometimes from inside your own head. To be okay quickly. I remember thinking this way too, to bounce back, to move forward. What I want to gently push back on that. Healing is not linear. It cannot be rushed. The work of coming back to yourself and the self-forgiveness and self-acceptance, the rebuilding of your inner trust, that takes time. Real, unhurried, unapologetic time. And that is not weakness, it is wisdom. Personally, it took me over a year and a half of actively working on my own healing before I even started thinking about dating. And honestly, it was my therapist who encouraged me to take a step when I was ready. I share that not to set a timeline, but to give you permission to take yours. Some of the most grounded, self-aware women I know are the ones who gave gave themselves full permission to heal before they did anything else. They didn't rush, they didn't perform being just fine. They followed the process, and they came out on the other side knowing themselves in a way they never had before. And that can be you as well. Learning to trust yourself again after betrayal is not one decision. It is a practice. It is a self-forgiveness letter at 11 p.m. when the shame creeps in. It is choosing your own voice over the doubt again and again until it starts to feel natural again. Sophia is still on that journey. Maybe you are too, and that is okay. If this resonated with you, share with a friend who might need it. This kind of content doesn't always find its way to the people who need it the most without little help. And in the comments, I would love to know, what is the hardest part of trusting yourself again? Next time, we're going to talk about what comes after the healing, the courage it takes to open your heart again, and how to do it without carrying the past with you. So make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss it. See you then. Bye-bye.